Yeah. Okay. So if we're talking about supplements, and I've gotten this question, so we'll just get right to it. Well, why didn't you throw turkesterone in there?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I first learned about the ecdysterone, turkesterone kind of class of, what are they? I guess what are they called? Plant sterol
Yeah.
or insect steroid
Yep. Insect
hormone
steroids. Yep.
classes. Yeah. I first learned about them as a kid. When I was a kid, I was you might relate to this, I guess. I was a huge nerd when it came to,
Yeah.
I guess, supplements. And so I actually went to the library and, believe it or not, found some old Soviet studies on ecdysterone. And they had studied ecdysterone quite a bit. Remember the Soviets, obviously huge communist country, and their goal was to show their, I
Hmm.
guess, their superiority at the Olympics, and they had
Ivan
really
Drago.
they really dumped a lot of money into research on anything they could possibly do to improve performance, and some of the research was on this plant sterile insect hormone called ecdysterone. And I remember reading this one study, they compared it to dianabol. This is a classic
Mm.
anabolic steroid. And they found that I think it was 10 milligrams a day of dianabol versus, I don't remember what the dose was of ecdysterone, but it's whatever the current recommended efficacious dose is. The ecdysterone outperformed the dianabol. I think it was in a 60-day period. So here I am as a kid, and I'm like, and I want to build muscle, right? So I'm like, oh my
Of
God, where
course.
can I find this ecdysterone? I couldn't find any at the time. Later on, I found a source and it worked. They do work. They do build muscle. You do find yourself burning body fat. They do not work forever. After about 45 to 60 days, the effects are flat. And then when you go off, you do notice a bit of a dip. So I feel like there's a bit of a feedback loop happening with those. It is now believed that they're mediated through the estrogen receptor, which is kind of interesting.
Hmm.
They used to think it affected testosterone, which it doesn't. Although you do notice a libido boost when you're on those supplements. The problem was in the early 2000s that there was a lot of fake ecdysterone type supplements out there. So the bodybuilding community wrote it off. It doesn't work. But the truth is, it does work if you find a good source. Do I think everybody should take it? No, it's obviously working through some kind of hormonal pathway. Again, we think it's modulated through the estrogen receptor. I don't think it doesn't seem to have any negative effects on the liver or the organs, but you are kind of fiddling with those receptors. So I don't know what that would look like in women, and it's not a panacea. Like I said, I would take it after about 60 days. It would stop working. I'd
Right.
go off and I'd lose, a lot of the gains. But in the short term, it's fun and it
Right.
definitely
Right.
works.
How would you compare that to like in Clomid or Clomid that people that are taking now for I guess you could say natural stimulation?
Yeah, that's weird that people do that. So Clomid is a selective estrogen receptor modulator. I know it's traditionally used and prescribed to women to help them, ovulate so they can get pregnant.
Yep.
And in men, Nolvadex or Clomid can raise testosterone by tricking the body into thinking it's not producing enough, because what it is,
Mm.
it blocks the estrogen receptor. So your body's not meant in men. Our estrogen is created by taking testosterone and converting some of it to estrogen. And if your body thinks you're not getting enough estrogen, it makes more testosterone. So it kind of tricks the body. But these estrogen receptor modulators, although they attach at the estrogen receptor and they don't express those receptors like estrogen would, there's still some expression going on. So I think it's funny that people do that, because you'll hear guys take Clomid to try to build more muscle, and they'll get emotional and they'll feel weird and they'll have sexual
Well,
dysfunction
they
and
take
like that.
Inclomid. It's they so Clomid is Zuclomiphene and then Inclomiphene. So
Oh,
now they
interesting.
just so Zuclomid is, I guess, responsible for all the shitty side effects. So now people just take Inclomid with an estrogen blocker, and it seems on paper to work pretty decent.
Yeah, how much is it going to raise your testosterone, right? Because
Yeah, you
what
have
is
to
it,
do
like
blood
30%?
work.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Well, I'd want to see those numbers, because they may look good on, like, you might say to somebody, you're going to boost your testosterone by 20%. That sounds big, right?
Yeah.
But, you're
Are
at,
you
let's
actually
say,
going to feel a difference?
yeah, you're not. I mean, if your testosterone's at, let's say your free testosterone's at, 600, now you're going to go up to what, 700 something. I mean, you're not going to notice that, especially if
Yeah.
your androgen receptor density goes down, or your free testosterone doesn't really change much. You're not going to know. I mean, there was a study that compared men with high free testosterone to men with lower free testosterone to see what the difference was in muscle building. And they found that the difference in muscle building was less due to that and more due to androgen receptor density, the
Right.
receptors that the testosterone attaches to. That's really what made the difference in muscle building. So raising testosterone, 20, 30%, of course, if you take exogenous testosterone, that's different. Now you're, quadrupling your testosterone, but 20, 30% sounds good. Are you going to notice? I don't know.